Don't forget here that we really want to distinguish between someone who faced Northeast and someone who argues for Northeast. But either way, this is true. This title is true either way, but the one who doesn't argue for it means he doesn't really know what's going on. He's just doing something that somebody told him to do. And then maybe someone showed him, look, here's the map. And then he looked at whatever they showed him, and he didn't really know how to tell for himself. So that's not going to be counted as reading the map. But then the one who argues for that, he might know how to read the map properly, and then he just doesn't do it. He does it a new way or a special way that he thinks he's entitled to do so. He says, we're Muslims, and we're not going to do it the way non-Muslims do it. I heard similar to that before. Because when you say to those people who argue for the wrong direction, let's go to the college campus and let's ask all those college students, they will not accept. They will say, those people are not Muslims. So it's like they're saying, we as Muslims, we have our own way of reading the map. And here, as you can see, we have some definitions for the word globe. I just did some little bit of research and collected a couple of definitions for the word globe because I think 100% of the time people who argue for Northeast say the globe is not a map. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Because maybe I'm wrong, but in my experience, I don't recall a single one of them who submitted to the globe being a map. So that's exactly what prompted me to grab the definition of globe. People who are arguing that the globe is not a map. So it says here, globe, a spherical representation of the earth or of the constellations with a map on the surface. Globe, so it says here 1, 2, 3, but these are from different sources. It's not the same source. 2, globe, a sphere on which a map of the world or the heavens is drawn or represented. 3, globe, a sphere on which a map, especially of the earth, is represented. 4, a sphere on which is depicted a map of the earth. 5, globe, and it says 1 after that. This is from wherever I took it from. A round object with a map of the earth drawn on it. So if you want to test this and see, then if you get into a discussion with a person who argues for Northeast and he tells you the globe, the globe, the globe, and then you tell him, you might ask him, do you know that the globe is a map? And then just see what he says. So I'm telling you, most likely he's going to say, no, the globe is not a map. Yeah. And then you're going to know what you're dealing with there. So now, if this person, he thinks the globe is not a map, and he thinks you're dead wrong in what you're saying, and that you are particularly ignorant, then how far you think you're going to get with this person? In the first place, he thinks that the globe is not a map, and he swears he's right. So people who face Northeast, but more in particular, who argue for Northeast, seemingly do not know how to read a map. This lack of simple and universal knowledge makes non-Muslims chuckle at Northeasters. That's true. They don't care, though. So any non-Muslims who are in the know about this controversy in USA and Canada about the Qibla, because I had an archive of non-Muslim articles about Muslims who face Northeast. And really, I don't know, maybe someone feels like I'm disrespectful when I talk about this issue. You should see what they say. Subhanallah wa bihamdi. But they don't care. I showed it to people. I said, look what they said. They don't care what they say. They say they're not Muslims. So it's like they're saying, we have our own way of looking at the map. There's two ways to read a map, the Muslim way and the non-Muslim way. Challenge them to go with you to a university campus and ask anyone who walks by. As I did that, they won't accept. They never accept it. And every single one of them will refuse the challenge every single time. Yeah. Yeah, he's not going to be a kafir for facing the wrong direction. Yeah. Wahhabi is going to be a kafir for a different issue, not for facing the wrong direction. He's going to be kafir for likening Allah to the creations. Or he's going to be a kafir for making takfir on the Muslim nation at large. Not to mention that Wahhabi who face northeast direction, he can't even argue to substantiate this because he claims he wants to avoid all bid'ah. He should be sticking exactly to the sunnah. He should not be trying to employ spherical trigonometry and stuff into his qibla as a Wahhabi. It's the non-Wahhabi people who argue for northeast who say this is updated fiqh. This is modern fiqh. They said that. A Wahhabi has no way to claim there's something called modern fiqh, because in the first place he says there's no such thing as a good innovation. You can only do things traditionally. So those people, I suspect that really in their hearts, a Wahhabi, when it comes to the Qibla, I think really in his heart he's conflicted. He's conflicted. Because if he has some sense, he knows that whatever leads to facing northeast is not, if he knows the issue, he knows it's not the sunnah, that the practice of the Prophet and the Sahaba. Because the people who do argue for northeast, they won't deny that what they are using is not the practice of the Prophet and the Sahaba. And if you ask them, why don't you use the way that the Prophet and the Sahaba used to face the Qibla? They will say, because, and then they'll give you their reason. So they know that it's not. So I don't know how does Wahhabi do it. He should be facing southeast. Wafiq. Some of them do not even know what a map is or is not, because several say that the globe is not a map, if not all of them. One said, and again, a globe is not a map. They are two completely different things. That's a cut and paste right there. Anything I have in red like that, that's a cut and paste. That's their own words. Even if you see it in red, you might see typo in there, because all I did was cut and paste it exactly like they said it and put it there. And I didn't even change their words or how they wrote it. More than one of them said, maps are flat. The earth is round. So it is as if he is saying that there are no maps of the earth. If one of them says maps are flat and the earth is round, so then that means he's saying there's no map of the earth. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So say, if the globe is not a map, then why does it have latitude and longitude lines on it? And that's one thing. You could say, if a globe is not a map, then what is it? A mere ball? And that's how they treat it, really. They do treat the globe like a mere ball. That's why when they want to talk to you about Qibla issue, they say, you can take any round object. Take any round object, designate a North Pole and a South Pole and an equator. And then from there, you can see that the Qibla is going to be northeast, and then they'll go through their process. So it's not an issue of it being a map for them. It's just an issue of having a round object for them, not a map. So they're not reading the globe as a map. They're using the globe as a ball. And 3, if every map is flat, then what's the point of calling a map that is not a globe a flat map? You should just call it a map. So what's the point of calling it a flat map? That's to distinguish it from a map that's not flat, like a globe. So the essence of their mistake is that they looked at the globe not as a map, but as a mere ball. They say Earth is not flat. Therefore, we need a globe to truly express the issue. Then, in their ignorance, they pull a string from New York to Mecca and say, now look how the string goes northeast. Although we established that really that's a curve, that's a turn in there, that's a right turn. If the listener also does not know how to read a map, he would easily accept, which is going to be the case of the majority, yani the masses, the commoners who are following their imams. Imagine an imam who takes a globe out to his community, puts a string on there. He says, I'm going to give y'all a lesson and show you how the Qibla is northeast. He brings a globe, he puts a string over the globe, and he says, see how this is a straight line? So supposing everyone in there were like, oh, wow, barakallahu feek, jazakallahu khaira. That means they didn't know even what they're looking at. So he would easily accept. All he knows is that north is up and south is down. That's as much as he knows about looking at a map. But if he knows how, though, then he would say, wait, look at the grid. Don't just look at the fact that it's a ball. Look at the grid on there. The string is turning from northeast to east and then to southeast. That's a turn. That's not how to read a map. And that is not a single direction that can be faced. So here's an image. I snatched that off of somebody on YouTube who was doing a Qibla video. And this person this image is from his video. I was talking with him in the chat, in the comment section. So we went back and forth until he blocked me. And then, not only did he block me, he also started deleting some of my statements and not all of them, so that it looks like he's answering me and I'm not answering him back. So this is his image here, and you see the curve there that we've already established anyway. That is really representative of what's happening there. That's right turn. The person arguing for northeast would easily ignore that as if it is child babble and justify his northeast argument saying, don't be ignorant. It's not changing. Actually, look at it from the top and you'll see that it's a straight line. The shortest distance from New York to Mecca, and then he'll flip it. He'll just turn it and adjust the angle of your perspective. And then because of the angle he turned it, the north-south turn disappears. So I'm going to go back up to the first image. The first one here, now you know you have 4 directions, northeast, south, and west, right? Okay, so this first one, it has this curved line here. This curved line shows all 4 directions. It goes from east to west, or from west to east. If we start in US and end at Mecca, that's from west to east. And you can see a curve there. So it goes up and then goes down. That's north and south. Are you following me? Okay. Yes. So that's really what's happening there. So what they're going to do is just turn the globe so that the north-south part of it disappears from your perspective. And the only thing that's left for you to see is the east-west line. So they say, see, it looks straight. See, it's straight. And it's not straight, but all you see is the east-west part of the line. And the north-south part disappears because of the perspective. It's really still there, though. That's clear? No. Yeah. They fooled a lot of people with that. Thousands. Tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Muslims have been deceived by this. This will only work for someone not looking at the globe as a map, but as a mere ball. He only looks at it as a mere ball. Whoever properly reads the coordinates of the globe will be unable to accept that nonsense. Because this is a map. So you need to look at the coordinates of the first point. What are the coordinates of the first point, which is New York, for example, and the coordinates of the second point, which is Mecca. And then you compare the coordinates. When you compare the coordinates, not how does the line look on the globe, when you compare the coordinates, then it's definitively Mecca is southeast of United States and Canada. They don't care about the coordinates. Here's another diagram demonstrating the relationship between a globe and a flat map. I think this picture is clear here. So you have what represents a globe on the left side, and you have what represents a flat map on the right side. And you have arrows, right, showing you how to translate the round globe into the flat map. How to translate the round map to the flat map. And now the flat one on the right side, I hope I said that right the first time. So the round one is on the left side. Did I say it wrong the first time? Okay. So the flat one that's on the right side, look at the top. So let's say that's a whole page, right? So if you look at the top and you look at the bottom, you see each point at the top is 0 degrees. That's what you should know that. Each point at the top of the page is 0 degrees. And each point at the bottom of the flat map is 0 degrees. When you open it up like that, that makes you know that that point at the top where all the lines converge, that's not just some place where every direction is south. It's wide, way wider. But because they didn't really know how to read the map, they thought that all the lines come together at that one dot at the top. That's some solitary point where if you are there, every direction is south. Really, yani, it's very wide up there. Where's that 0 degrees? Very, very wide. Is clear? Okay. In their minds, huh? Yeah, that's all. That's it. Listen, the map is coordinates, right? So it doesn't matter what the shape of the map is. As long as the coordinates, as long as the grid is right, that's all that matters, is that the grid is correct. If this same grid were put on a cube, or if it were put on a pyramid, or if it were put on a cylinder, it's going to still be the same coordinates. And you're going to read it the same way. You just have to know how to look at it because the shape is different. That's all. In their minds, the person is traveling forward and therefore maintaining one constant direction until reaching Mecca. But that's false. He's not traveling forward. They think he's traveling forward because they just looked at the globe from a perspective that encouraged them. And they say, look, see that straight line there? That's a person going forward from point A to point B. There's no turn there. That's not true. There is a turn there. One of them said, you do realize that the pilot is continuing in the same direction he started out in, right? And this one who said this, I remember who he is. I know him. Yani, besides that, I disagree with the brother here, though. Yani, he's okay brother, mashallah, but he's dead wrong here. So one of them said, you do realize that the pilot is continuing in the same direction he started out in, right? So that's false. That's what he thinks. That northeastern direction, he never steers right, he never steers left. And you know what happens? He ends up in Mecca. I say, this is proof enough. Just like if I was in Mecca and could see the Kaaba from a mile away, if I was to walk straight, never turning to the right, never turning to the left, I would walk right smack dab into the Kaaba. The reality is, the pilot is going straight. This southern direction you say he's going is the result of the Earth's shape, a reality we don't ignore. So that's what he said. That's his verbatim words to me. So that's him saying that he believes that you can go from north to south without turning, or that you can turn and stay in the same direction. Either one of those, like we talked about last time. They say, yeah. So they're saying you can go from north to south without turning, or you can turn without changing directions because the Earth is not flat. So I'm not lying on them when they said that. They say that. What this person did ignore is the fact that north and south are two opposite directions. Silly rabbit. So that brother, I'm not going to call him a silly rabbit just because I know him. I'm going to take that out of there. Going from northeast to southeast while moving forward requires a right turn. If one is facing east, the north is to his left and the south is to his right. That's very important there. If you are facing east, the north is to your left and the south is to your right. So there's no way the person went straight in this case, because he literally, according to the coordinates, he literally started off going north. Yeah, and he started somewhere and he ended somewhere. So in between those two positions, take the coordinates for where he started, the coordinates for where he ended, and then determine the middle between there and the coordinates there. There's definitely, throughout that whole line, a variance between north and south. Yes, he is going east for sure. That's true. That part is one direction. But he definitely went north and south too. So there's no way you can go north and south without turning. Because if you're facing east, the north is to your left and the south is to your right. They are like people who only look at the pictures in a book without reading the words. And then they misinterpret the pictures because of not reading. One does not read the book, either because he does not know how or because he does not want to. This is why they discuss the Qibla with any round or even slightly round object, even a balled up piece of paper. If you talk to one of them, he'll say to you, give me anything round. Give me that piece of paper right there. And then he'll ball it up to make it even kind of round. So, because it's not the map that he's interested in, the fact that that globe is a map, that's not the part, that's not what concerns him. But they would reject any and every map that's not a globe, unless they can make it work for them somehow, like that one I showed you. When I asked them, how would Chile face northeast and Canada face northeast too? So then they produced a flat map with an odd projection and say, look, you remember that one? Yeah. So if a flat map will work for them, then they'll use it. Otherwise, they're going to reject all of them. Or maybe they'll say, Chile shouldn't face northeast. Because this issue did spread a little bit. I don't know how much, to what degree. As far as I know, not much. But it did spread into some of the other countries that are far. Like, I was told that there are some people in New Zealand who start doing like people in America, using some calculations, and then this turns them off of their Qibla, really. Just like how people in USA got turned off their Qibla by their calculations. So this is why they discuss the Qibla with any round or even slightly round object, even balled up paper. But they reject any and every map that's not a globe, because reading the map is not their true concern, even if it is on a sphere. They just want the fact that it's a ball. And this is why they ignore the latitude and longitude coordinates that prove that Mecca is southeast of the USA. But let me ask you a question. When do they not ignore latitude and longitude coordinates? The answer is when it comes to the North Pole. They say North Pole, every direction is south, because look at the lines on the map. Don't you see how all the lines converge at the top? The North Pole right there. So now they are locking on to latitude and longitude coordinates. But you say, okay, but how about the fact that if you look at the latitude and longitude coordinates for any part of the United States and latitude and longitude coordinates for Mecca, it means Mecca is southeast of us. They're going to say, oh, no, it doesn't work that way, because the earth is not flat. And there's a difference between direction and bearings. And like this, they're going to throw stuff out for you to fool you. Now, it's not going to be their direct intention to fool you. That's not their exact direct intention, to fool you and deceive you. But they're arguing for something that's wrong, and they want to prove that it's right. So that's how they're trying to fool you. What happens when somebody is saying something wrong, and then you show him, no, not like that. So what he's going to do is he's going to use other words, and he's going to bring other words in, and he's going to try to shift the focus. Like, I'll give you an example, slight example here. There was a person, a person was talking about hellfire coming, or people getting out of hellfire. This is what he claimed. Kuffar getting out of hellfire. So one of our brothers was refuting him. So someone left a comment and said, don't talk about this. If there's some scholars who said so, blah, 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 like this. So I commented, I said, this is against explicit ayahs of the Quran. You can't say some scholars said and leave it like that, and there's explicit ayah in the Quran that says that the kuffar will never get out of hell. So we went back and forth a little bit. So then I said to him, he was saying, well, look, you got to at least let the people know that some scholars said. That's what he said. So I said to him, so then according to you, if some people said that you can eat pig meat, you got to let the people know. And if some people said that you don't have to pray 5 times a day, you got to let the people know, since some people said it. Although it's explicit in the Quran. So what did he say? He said, but that's fiqh. We're talking about aqidah. See, that's how he's trying to shift. Because really, he got stuck there, but he doesn't want to stop. It's not the point whether it's fiqh or aqidah. The point is that it's explicit in the Quran. So then he's going to try to bring some other words to, even though he's wrong, but to keep himself in the discussion. So like that, what these people would do. If it came to North Pole, then the latitude and longitude coordinates are 100% exactly correct. And according to them, every direction is south from there. But they mean in the physical, real world. Not denying if that's on the map. Not denying that that's on the map. We're saying there's a difference between the earth and the map. So then when you say to him, okay, so you're confirming the grid. When you want to stick to North Pole, 0 degrees, did I say 90 degrees? Not 90, that's my bad. 90 degrees, the top, I said the top is 0 degrees on that picture. It's 90. Yeah, 90, not 0. The equator is 0. The equator is 0, and North Pole is 90 degrees north, and South Pole is 90 degrees south. So equator is 0 in both directions, north and south. You start counting until you get to 90. So he's going to confirm the North Pole, meaning the line, how all the lines converge there, and he's going to stick to that, and he's never going to budge off of it because for him, it's definitely correct. And then if you say to him, okay, so let's take the same lines, look at the coordinates for anywhere in North America you want, and look at the coordinates for Mecca, and you're going to see, based on those coordinates, that Mecca is southeast of the United States entirely, not to mention Canada. So then what is he going to do? Then he's going to start bringing other words in there. These other words, the point of him bringing these other words is to keep himself in the discussion, because now he's really, that was torpedo, just hit him. So he doesn't want to sink. So he's going to try to patch that torpedo hole. Say, no, but there's a difference between direction and bearing and this and that, and bring other words, and so that he can keep talking. So, and this is why they ignore the latitude and longitude coordinates that prove that Mecca is southeast of the USA, whether on a globe or a flat map. Except when they say that directions are based on the poles. See that there, right there. When they say directions are based on the poles, that's them confirming latitude and longitude coordinates, because it works for them in that instance. And when it works against them, then they're not going to use it. And this is why the issue makes sense in their minds. They imagined the string that they pulled over the globe as one direction because they saw a line from point A to point B over a mere ball, without any consideration to the grid that line fell on. But this is not the way to read a map. One of them said, I would say put aside north, south, east, and west, and just connect 2 points on a globe or ball. Then draw your poles and latitudes. Unless one of your points is at a pole or both points line up on the equator, you will have a direction that has different bearings along its path. So that's his way of saying, yeah, it looks like it's turning, but really it's straight. That's what he's saying. This is the meaning of that. He's saying that curve that's you see right there, it's not really turning, but it is. It's a right turn. It's a right turn. This is why they will never answer these questions with a straight, honest answer. Is Mecca close to the equator? Is Mecca closer to the equator than we are? That's a simple question, Yanni. Just ask him. It's a yes or no. Is Mecca closer to the equator than we are? He's not going to say yes, brother, and then be silent. He might not even say yes. He's not going to say no. But he might say no depending on how ignorant he is. But he probably won't say no, most likely. But he won't say yes, although the answer is yes. Are we closer to the North Pole? The answer is yes. Because saying, is Mecca closer to the equator than we are means, if the answer is yes, that means Mecca is south of us. So they know that, but they're not going to agree. And when we ask them, are we closer to the North Pole than Mecca is? So if the answer is yes, that means we're north of Mecca. So why would we also face north if we're already north? So then they're not going to just say yes. They only answer such questions if they answer with lengthy explanation. So if you want to ask them, if you want to try these questions, I just want you to tell me yes or no, though. Can you tell me yes or no? So he might say, it's not that easy, brother. So if he told me it's not that easy, I'd say, well, humor me. Just give me the bare answer first before you give me your elaboration. Yes or no? So I anticipate he'll say, I'm not able to just say yes or no without elaborating. because the answer is yes, but he wants to debunk that yes. So he's going to say yes, and then he's going to say something to debunk that yes right after it. What did you say? They only answer such questions if they answer with lengthy explanation, although they are very simply answered with a mere yes, and nothing more is needed in reality. It's like, maybe I told you, one time I talked to a brother about Qibla issue. So I asked him, do the birds fly south for the winter? What did he do? His eyebrows went up, and he turned around and walked out the door. If they were looking at the globe as a map, then their claim would be as ridiculous to them as it is to everyone else who reads it as a map. But if they look at it like a mere sphere, seeking the shortest distance between points A and B, not the direction, not the cardinal direction, but just the shortest distance between points A and B, and not being concerned with the cardinal directions of north, south, east, and west, then their math is correct for the shortest distance between 2 points on an object. So if he says to you, look, here's a globe. Now I'm putting this string from New York to Mecca on this globe. Is this the shortest distance between the 2 points, yes or no? What's your answer? What would you answer? Yes. If he says to you, here's the globe. Here's a string from New York to Mecca on the globe. Is this line here, this string, which is this line, is it the shortest distance between these 2 points or not over this globe? Is this the shortest point over this globe between these 2 points or not? What's your answer going to be? No, the answer is yes. It is the shortest distance. That's true. But we don't want the shortest distance. Huh? Yeah. Yani, it is the shortest distance. What meaning? When just this string, because why? Because the string is naturally just going to land. It's just going to fall over the shortest distance. If you took a globe and you just put a string from point A to point B, the string is naturally going to fall over the shortest distance from point A to point B. Yeah. So yeah, it is. But we don't want the shortest distance. We want the direction. And if you read the globe, if you read the map that's on the globe, if you read the coordinates of the grid that's on the ball, then you're going to know that point A is north of point B. If point A is New York and point B is Mecca, then point A is north according to the coordinates of point B according to the coordinates. Because they're going to say, well, the direction between 2 points is the shortest distance. So they're going to say, therefore, if the direction between point A and point B is the shortest distance, then that means once we find the shortest distance, we're going to know the direction. So what's the answer? Yani, besides saying we're not sure, we're not seeking the distance in the first place. We want a direction and not a distance. Besides that, what's the answer? Yani, I would say my answer would be you don't have to consider the terrain. You don't have to consider the shape of the ground. The reason why that came out as the shortest distance like that is because of the shape. It's the shape that affected that. So that's why we keep going back to say the shape of the earth is, knowing the shape of the earth is not even a condition. Repeat your question. Go ahead. I would say, instead of saying that's not, sorry to cut you off, instead of saying that's not how you determine direction, I would say that's not how you determine the Qibla. Because it's a religious. Go ahead. Yes, correct. And I would add, that's not how you use a globe. Also, I would say to him, that's not how you use a globe. You're not using the tool properly. You're supposed to read the grid, not put a string on the globe. No. Yeah. All right, so now we have another section. Looks like it's lengthy enough to be its own lesson. So let's stop here. And then next time we can read how to read a map, inshallah. Ameen wa fiqh. Uh-huh. Alhamdulillah. Ameen. Ameen. You too. Barakallahu fiqh. I'll tell you something. When I was a kid, I wasn't a Muslim. Maybe I told you, I used to, like, I knew how to read maps. I could even draw. I could draw the map of the world from off my head, just from my head, without looking at a globe. It's not perfect, of course, but all the basic shape of the continents, I could draw that from my mind. And I'll tell you something else too. Once I saw the Prophet in my dreams, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we were at Schuylkill River, somewhere around Schuylkill River, and he didn't say anything to me, but he pointed. He just pointed south of east, like a little bit south of east. He pointed that way, and then I turned that way in my dream without making any determination, because in my dream I was saying to myself, now the Prophet's pointing has freed me from having to make any determination. And then I faced that way and I prayed, and the Prophet prayed behind me. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He followed me in my prayer. MashaAllah. Yeah. Subhanallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.